Welcome to the Black Swan Yoga Podcast. I'm Madilyn Chen. I'm here today with Patsy Springer, and we are diving into dreams today, creating your dream life. And we're really excited to talk about many ways you can create your dream life and make it genuinely yours through ownership, through a combination of manifesting and creating instead of just hoping and dreaming, also taking action, and how you can make it happen, how you can turn your dream into a reality. We're excited.
Yes, I'm so excited to talk about this because we can, as you said, take ownership of our own life. And instead of just expecting to be given things, how can I work towards my dreams? What are the appropriate steps to make my life my dream a reality, where you wake up every day and say, is this true life? Because it is possible, and it's possible for every single one of us. We have the ability, the potential, we have, the power within us to make the life that we want to live.
In yoga teacher training, we talk about the yamas and niyamas, which are the moral principles of yoga. If you haven't listened to earlier episodes, we have some great content on what yama and niyama means, how you can bring that into your life. And I think really one of the first steps in asking yourself this, what is my dream life, or how do I create my dream life? You have to be really clear on what you want. And for me, it lit a candle or a spark in my mind when I had either friends or teachers or people that were influencing me ask me, what are your values? What do you care about? What type of impact do you want to make on the world? Or what type of lifestyle do you want to lead? So I bring up the yamas and niyamas because they're in yoga, this guiding moral force and a guiding light on a sense of truth. And they're all about creating nonviolence for ourselves, truth, happiness, and having this sense of discipline and drive, but also having a sense of freedom and non-attachment. So rooting ourselves in those practices can give us a lot of clarity on the foundation of the dream. Who am I? Where do I want to go? Where am I now? How can I get to the place I want to be? What are my values? What are my dreams? Really identifying it. Because in my experience, I'm glad you and I are doing this podcast together because we're similar in a lot of ways. But one thing that's a little bit different about us is I'm a more tangible or logical or black and white thinker. And Patsy has those qualities, but at the forefront, she's more of a creative and dreams up beautiful new ideas. While I kind of struggle at that sometimes, and I'm more of, okay, I've heard that you go to college and you get a degree and you go get a job and blah, 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 blah. And, of course, we all kind of have that message, thrown at us. But it's cool that we're doing this podcast together because I think we're complementary in this way of I'm a little inside a box, and it's easy for me to stay there instead of getting outside or realize that there's so many paths. And for you, you're just so creative, and dreams and ideas, I think, come more fluidly to you. So I'm excited to talk about it.
I 100% agree. I think that this is a good complementary conversation with the two of us because, as you said, maybe you might put yourself in a box with what you see right in front of you, or like it has to be this way or that way. Whereas I might be so like in this dream world where I can't come back out of the clouds, where it's hard for me to actually find those steps or tangible ways. So I think in our friendship, it's really great to have, that complementary sense because you remind me of, well, this is how we get organized with things. This is how we can look at a project and take it step by step. Whereas for me, typically that sense of thinking doesn't come more naturally to myself. And I'm thinking like huge ideas without thinking about, the organization and the steps to get there. So
we have both qualities,
yes.
But I'm living in a box and you're living in a beautiful cloud. I don't know.
No.
I want to go to the cloud life, but anyway.
I think that's why you need versatile friendships and people in your life that aren't just like you, and that you can, play off ideas with one another. Because I think also that's when some of my bigger ideas come from, just conversations with people that aren't very similar to me, and is beginning to bounce ideas back and forth where I'm like, whoa, new way of looking at things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it's very important to have people, all sorts of different kinds of people in your life.
Yeah, definitely. Creating your dream life. Whew, heavy topic, you guys. I'm just kidding. It's such an interesting thing to think about, your dreams. And I think in our culture and language, the word dream is something that's not real, or it's something that happens when you're sleeping and able to come up with this kind of unreal reality or world that isn't maybe, you have dreams that you're flying, or, you're a giant, or like all these things that aren't necessarily steeped in quote unquote reality. But just even looking at the word dream that we're exploring today, I think it's so important as you discuss and think about creating your dream life that you can make it a reality. And I think there's a fine line between, thinking if you just dream it up and in your mind imagine it, that it will happen. Sometimes it does for people. But I think for most of us, when we talk about a dream life, we're not also adding like an asterisk, like in a disclaimer of an ad. You create your dream life, but you have to work hard for it. You have to be, I think, in some parts realistic. And I think realistic doesn't necessarily mean that things aren't achievable if they're a huge dream, but you have to think, like we're talking about, use these two sides of yourself, because we all have them within us, that we all have the ability to be creative and dream. And we all have the ability to think logically and say, okay, if I have a dream of operating in a hot air balloon, I don't know, or rollerblading, whatever it is, what are the steps to get there? How much is it going to cost? How long will it take? How do I need to adjust or change, and who can help me get there, And
I'm going to add on to that, to be passionate about it too, because we might have this dream of, for an example, being a doctor, but we're really not into science, so, looking at your passions, what are you really curious about, and what sparks your that sense in your heart space that says, oh, this is fun, this is great, this is the track I'm supposed to be on, I really enjoy this. Maybe it's videography, something that about, you started realizing that you really like the sense of taking videos of people, and then, as Maddie was saying, step by step after that. But I think being passionate about it is a big part of, like, we might have a dream, but is that really something that we're passionate about and
into? Yeah, absolutely. It's so true. Because like I was talking about earlier, we are kind of fed this ideal life, go to school, get a job, make good money, have a family, XYZ. And you can have parts of that, you can have all of that, you can have none of that, and really allowing yourself to think deeply and critically about what you want, and kind of distinguishing, like we talk about in the 4 Agreements, when we reference that book, distinguishing what has been programmed or fed to you by either your family or your school or society, and keeping the things that you do value and you do cherish, but also realizing that you're your own person and you're the driver's seat of your life. I've been thinking about this so much lately. I have siblings, and we're all different ages, and we're all in different times in our life, and at different places in relationship with our parents. And I'm the oldest, so it's really interesting for me to kind of reflect and look back on places that I've been in this idea of, okay, am I my own person? Am I able to create the life I want? Or am I acting out of, wanting to make my family or society happy, or be accepted by them?
Yeah.
And it's really interesting for me to reflect on my siblings, on what states they're in and how I've been in a lot of those places. We're different people, but we also, we're all as humans so similar. So it's really interesting for me to see how my parents and my siblings are interacting in different ways because they're all different ages, and how that really dictates or plays into their own sense of self. And it's just so interesting and complicated because it really is so important when we're talking about what kind of life you want to create, and just having that shift of, I'm in the driver's seat of this life. I'm not essentially in control. I don't really like to think of us being in control of anything.
Right.
Our bodies, our minds, what happens to us, past, future, present. We're not really in control, but we're talking about creating our dream life. And even though we're not in 100% black and white control, there's no guarantee if you do X, Y, and Z measure that you'll achieve this or that thing. That's kind of where the beauty is in it. And that's why I'm referencing the yamas and niyamas. This aspect of non-attachment is really one of the keys to creating your dream life. And it's maybe doesn't lie in actually achieving something, but more so in letting go and finding freedom in what your life is looking at in this moment, even though we, have darkness, light, some good, some bad, all that stuff.
It's definitely a fine balance. Like for me, there is a thin line between like really creating this life that is of my dreams and like working my ass off to get there, versus this place of too much and like holding it on where it becomes my identity. Like that place of non-attachment is that line. I'm excited to work and excited about that part too, the journey of getting there. It's, I know it sounds so cliche, but it is the truth of, it's not really that destination, because once you get there, there's always going to be something else to work towards. I hope and I empower you to think that way, of that always growing. So, working towards it, dreaming big, and continuing to want it and to feed into that passion, but knowing that, trusting that if it doesn't happen exactly what you're planning, that's okay too, that you're still on your path and your life's mission and you're still doing your work. And something I want to touch on too is distinguishing if you want this for you or if it is that pressure coming from family or from society. That pressure, because someone close to you wants you to achieve something or be a certain way, it can be difficult to distinguish, is that me wanting it or is it someone else? And I'd just like to talk a little bit more about that, especially in the realm of parenthood, really, is how we feel as we're having children, as we're guiding our children to, and I say our children, I'm not a parent, but I do feel, the need to speak as if a guiding force in this, is how we speak to them and how we lead them is really huge for their lives.
Heavy topic. I don't know what to say.
I know.
Yeah, I think it's so, it's interesting. It's easy to reflect and think you can come up with a bunch of answers when you have seen the past. But something I learned in the last couple of months is really interesting. Every time you recall a memory, it's actually a little bit different in your brain. And every time you remember the same event, it's not actually the same thing. Something maybe tiny or unrecognizable changes about it. And it's so interesting to me because I think in a way that's good because we can make more peace with our past and, or in the opposite, we can exacerbate something that was traumatic for us. But anyways, that's really interesting to me of the way that we see reality and the way we recall memories and experiences in relation to, how we interact and how we think our parents have affected us. And we can think back and say like, damn, I wish they didn't say that, or wish that they didn't treat me like this way. Blame is kind of a word that is so powerful to realize. A lot of people, I think, are really quick to blame their parents, teachers, influences in whatever capacity, and say, well, they're the reason I'm like this, or they've created me, and in good and in bad. And it's of course true, like as children and adolescents, we're sponges and we're learning and growing, and everything around us affects who we are today. We're like who we are now is just this building blocks of our past. But finding this balance between, okay, I'm not going to blame, I'm going to take ownership for my life. And even though things might have happened to me, good or bad, it's still my responsibility of how I respond to them and how I'm going to create my life.
Yeah, that's a huge part of creating your life, is looking at where we're putting blame, and also where we have past trauma, seeing how that's affecting us and holding us back truly. There's a word in Sanskrit, samskara, which is our past pattern. And it could be even patterns of, our mothers or fathers and their mothers and fathers that have been passed down to us. And it's even said that pattern in these habits that we have could be related to grooves of the brain, like our way of thinking. And when we begin to heal these patterns and look at them, the brain actually begins to shift as well. It's really fascinating that the grooves begin to move in the brain as well when we begin to heal. And I think that that's really a big part of creating the life that you dream of, is looking at where you're in pain. Are there areas in our lives that are holding us back from moving forward? And is it, something that I can heal a relationship with someone else? Or is it that I'm just continuously putting blame, and not empowering myself to, take note of this and then finding the proper steps to heal myself, whatever that might be for that individual.
Pain is such a driver of our motives, avoiding pain, staying away from pain, whether it's physical or emotional, mental pain. It's such an inherent part of our survival mode of I want to survive, and pain is bad, whether it's physical or emotional or mental, and I am going to run like hell from it.
Right.
And I'm glad you brought that up. In my journey, I feel like in so many aspects of my life, leaning in to pain and discomfort is really one of the secrets or huge keys for me to find peace. Even if it's a seemingly smaller pain, like social anxiety or feeling insecure around your superior at work, or someone who you have a crush on or might want to ask if they would hang out with you or go on a date with you. Like leaning into those parts of us that are uncomfortable help us to realize our strength and our ability to create our life, and also make us realize like, oh, a lot of things are really just in our heads of our perspective, and I think that's one of the major things of creating your dream life, your perspective, and realizing that you can take the reins for your perspective. And even if you have a job that isn't very fulfilling, you're not really liking it, it's stressful, it has negative qualities to it, or you're in a place in your life where you want to be somewhere else, work to get there. Don't just stay stagnant if it's really not good for you, but try to shift your perspective on, okay, this shitty situation is propelling me into the next great situation, or this, boring job allows me so much free time and energy to pursue my dreams. Just trying to look critically and deeply at your pain is so key in realizing why you're creating the things you do in your life, why you're making decisions, even what you want, like if you have this dream in your life, looking deeply at it of, do I genuinely want this? What is it going to be like? And we can't really know, like that's been the funny thing for me. Like I have had many dreams that I have achieved. We all have, right? We've had a dream, we achieve it. And once you achieve it, it's so important to take time to reflect and to say, okay, I've made it here. Now what? Do I like this? Is this what I thought it was going to be? Is it meeting my expectations? Can I be happy with the work I've done? Is this where I'm going to stay? It's also, it's like once you create or achieve a dream or a goal, you, like Patsy said earlier, really shouldn't just stay. You can stay, but continue to be mindful and look deeply at, what it all means, really. What I'm trying to say.
I like how you mentioned expectations. What are some of your biggest tips on kind of managing expectation?
I don't really go on Reddit, but my husband does, like a little too much, in my opinion. Okay. My favorite memes are expectation versus reality. If you're ever down and you just need a little pep, just go on Instagram or Reddit or Google and search a bunch of memes, expectation versus reality. They're always really funny on like the pre-packaged meals where it's like, it's gonna look like this gorgeous gourmet pizza, and then it comes out like falling off the plate. Anyways, just for fun. But serious expectations. I think that's so key. Managing expectations is so weird. I don't know if we were talking or somebody else. I think it was us, but it was also somebody else. We're on the same topic. Going with the flow is so key, right? And having your dreams, but not being so rigidly attached to them that if they don't happen, then life shatters. I think a big part of this is also genuinely putting your faith and your trust in your life, your path, whether you're putting your faith in God, the universe, just society, how the world works, putting your faith, your trust in yourself. Yes, beautiful. Whatever, having this idea in the back of your mind that everything is going to be okay. A lot of us, experience anxiety, especially when we're looking towards the future and we're trying to manifest something. Anxiety is future thinking. It's not being in the present, right? And we're talking right now about the future, how you can create your dreams. It's so easy to slip into anxiety and thinking, how can I ever achieve this? Will I ever achieve this? Am I good enough? XYZ. So allowing yourself to stay in the present and stay in the moment is one of the greatest practices to make peace instead of finding attachment to expectations. I don't know. I would say for me, I've had a couple of expectations shatter, and they've been so painful and like disheartening and depressing and just like throw me off that I don't ever want to feel that. So unfortunately, pain and suffering may be the key. One of them of just experiencing it. Like if you've ever had an expectation and it hasn't been met, take time to think about how you feel and think like, okay, I'm not in 100% control of the outcome of things. And sometimes I may have a dream or a wish that isn't going to be granted. And if it isn't going to be granted now, it may be granted in the future, or you may be in store for something greater that you're not aware of yet. Just shifting your mind to that positivity is so key and important.
Yes. Yeah. So many times what we see as, something that went dramatically terrible, it turns out to be a really great gift for something else or something better, which is the beauty of things. And I love how Maddie said, coming back to going with the flow, to release those expectations and to finding trust that it whatever happens, it's supposed to happen. There's no other option, but that's the way it's supposed to happen. Truly believing that opens yourself up for a lot of life's little miracles for you. And I think something that is also very helpful is continuing to meet yourself on the mat. If you don't have a meditation practice, I really highly recommend it, especially when we're talking about things with the future and we start to have anxiety or, these feelings that might even freeze us in time, like just like makes us so fearful talking about the future, which is a real thing. Your meditation practice is such a powerful tool to help you be in the present moment. For me, it is really what keeps me sane while, I'm thinking about all these events in my life, both career-wise and personal. If I don't have my grounding meditation practice, it's very difficult for me to move steadily forward.
So true.
Mm-hmm.
I was sitting down to meditate this morning and I was like, oh my God, it's not happening. And there's so many different ways to meditate. You can do guided meditation. We have so many meditations on bsoi.tv, a million. Patsy and I both have multiple meditations. I think almost every teacher has meditations on there. So having someone guide you in meditation can be really powerful. But one of the most powerful ways that I actually get into that meditative state is through restorative yoga. And I just take 20 minutes in the afternoon or some time of the day where I need a pick-me-up and just lie down and be still. And maybe if it's comfortable for you, you can just lie down flat in Shavasana, or maybe you can put your feet up or legs up a little bit on something. But somewhere where you can get into a deeply restful state while staying conscious. You get into a deep, different state of consciousness in your mind that allows you to drop into the present moment. So it's not always, it can be, but it's not always that easy to, just sit, close your eyes and, snap your fingers and meditate. So there's so many different ways that you can access meditation and gaining access to the present moment, eliminating depression and anxiety for the time you're in there, in that space, meditating, and then carry that mindset into your life. So key, so important. I think it's really cool. I didn't expect this to go this way, but the expectation topic is, we're asking this question, how do you create your dream life? I mean, it's such a balance between having focus and a plan and working your ass off and staying dedicated, even though things can be really hard. But also on the flip side, letting go, surrendering, trusting, practicing your faith and your freedom in that way. And it's really like we're talking about us being different. If you balance these parts of yourself, the part of you is like, well, this is how things exist and it's black and white. And the part of you that's like, well, things could be this way, or the creative aspect, because we have those, everybody has both of those qualities within us. It's cool how creating your life is in a big part just about letting go and trusting and maybe just experiencing your life. But if you want to create your life, let's get back to that.
Yes.
Maybe some more tangible facts. Back in the box, everyone.
I think and you started to come up with the process of the steps, like being curious. Number one, what am I passionate about? What are my drives? What are my dreams? Be curious. See what sparks your heart. And then number two, instead of it, there becomes a day where it might be, it's been in the back of your head, and then all of a sudden you start to speak it with friends or speak it with, family members, whoever it is, but then it becomes this forefront thought. And this is something that I want to start working towards. I've met the criteria that this is something that I really do want. I'm passionate about it. I could do this. It's realistic. And I'm ready to move forward. So then we talk about what Maddie's saying, get focused, get organized. Let's see the steps to go there. And during this entire process, how can I continue to work but also let go, knowing that this process, I'm working my ass off, I'm doing my best, I'm not attached to the outcome. I think that that's a big part of like that creating your dream life. It's huge. And then continuing, as Maddie was saying, the cycle continues to go. Once you get there, it doesn't stop. take a look around at your expectations, at your assumptions, all of it. And then where do you go from there? Do we need to change things? Maybe that dream life really wasn't what is fulfilling you or bringing you happiness after all.
Yeah. Letting go enough so that you can stay open is so key. I think if you don't have experience in a field or an area that you're dreaming about, it can be really hard to think outside the box, or you may feel like I'm hitting a wall. Like, I don't like the situation I'm in, but I don't know where I want to go or how to get there. And staying open is so key. It's kind of like you're going back to step 1, 2, 3, and then back to the beginning, if you need to. But I think remembering that we're connected and we're not alone is a really important factor in this, because I'll share a story from my experience. I went to school and I had an idea, an intention that I wanted to help people. I wanted to help people through therapy, and I wanted to do social work type of work, therapy. I wanted to become a therapist, like all that type of field. And I had this heartfelt intention that I wanted to help people. So I graduate, I go to school, I start working and doing this work, and I start doing what I had as an intention, as a goal, as a what have you. And I realized, whoa, this is not what I want to be doing. Wow, like wake up call. I want to help people, but I got to get a little more specific than that. I can't be that broad. And I only have, gotten closer to my other goals by experiencing. You can't know everything when you set out on a journey. If you've never hiked a certain path, you don't know what you're going to experience on that path. Maybe it's going to be a beautiful waterfall. Maybe it's going to be a pack of snakes. Who knows what it's going to be like? I don't know if it's a pack of snakes. We should look that up. But your experience, you have to stay open. You have to let go sometimes. And like, I have a hard time doing that sometimes. If I have a goal, I'm like, I'm going to finish it. I'm going to achieve it. And I can be really stubborn. And I stayed in this line of work for longer than I should have. And it was really not the best for me in a lot of ways. And I was like, well, it doesn't matter. I set out this goal to achieve it. I'm going to stick with it no matter what. And that's that. In retrospect, which taught me a lot. You have to be able to be flexible, but not too flexible where you can't achieve your goals, but just, flexible enough where you are not harming yourself. And we're all really different. There's not like a one set answer. But getting back to this idea of remembering we're connected is so important, because if you have an idea or a dream, but you don't have experience in that area, whether it is professional, personal, whatever it is, talking to people is so key. And I think, Patsy and I certify yoga teachers. We help them navigate what they want and who they want to become, what type of yoga they want to teach. Do they want to teach yoga after they go through the certification? Like what are the possibilities? What type of people can I serve? And it's something I think is so important is realizing that if you have the dream, you have so many people you can connect to and ask for support and help. So something that I see on the regular is people have this dream that yoga has transformed their lives, and they want to offer that to others by teaching yoga. But they don't know how to get a job or where to start, or they feel isolated. And if we forget the whole meaning behind yoga, to connect, to yoke, to remember our oneness, if we forget that, then we can feel isolated, like we can never achieve our dreams and nothing's ever going to happen. So I always encourage yoga students in our certification and in our classes, even after the fact, to always reach out to us for support or help, or reach out to the people in your community. And you sometimes may have to think outside the box. If you think you have an idea or a dream, you have to sometimes think like, okay, let's say I have a dream of being a manufacturer of yoga balls. There's one in this room. I just thought of it. And you're like, well, I don't know anyone in my life that has that experience with manufacturing yoga balls. Okay, think a little bit broader than that? Do you have any experience with anybody that is a manufacturer, or maybe a business owner, or maybe somebody who has experience in some other working retail or some, like, think about all the qualities that could be attached to this dream you have. And even if somebody has a tiny, tiny, tiny piece of the pie for your dream, they might lead you to someone else and someone else, and so on and so forth. So really utilizing your community can be super powerful for you to achieve your dreams. It's not just about you achieving them in a box and being alone. You can help or rely on the help and support of others to lift you up.
100%. I think that personal connection is a huge tool that we have for creating the life of our dreams. And being curious with these people, constantly asking them questions, and yourself questions. And I said constantly, I mean, don't bug them, but like, questions are great. Don't hold back from just being curious. Some of the people in my life that I'm like really inspired by aren't afraid to just ask people questions, and coming from a personal standpoint, I used to own a small business where for years I thought that I had to do everything. And and in hindsight, that's where I learned a lot of, like, that was a mistake, because people are excited to be part of your dream, and people want to help, and people want to offer whatever knowledge that they might have that could assist you towards your dream. And that was really an eye-opening thing for me. I think for all of us, probably it's, pride and ego gets in our way many of the times, where this is my dream, so I have to do it myself, or I worked so hard to be here, so I have to stick it out. It's notice how you're feeling, and that's going to tell you, whether or not there needs to be a shift or not, for sure.
Absolutely. Creating your dream life. So in addition to all of that, I would invite you to sit down in a sense of meditation with a journal, or even set up your phone to record yourself if you want to just close your eyes and let your words flow. Just speak, and you may be surprised at what you may say, or just get a journal and do some writing. Try to go back when you're thinking about creating your dream life. Try to go back to what your values are and what you want to feel. Think about the big picture, macro things first. How do you want to feel in your life? What are your values? And then from there, work backward and go smaller. Okay, I want to feel like this practice or this experience helps me feel that. And then just start to write out, going backwards from there. And after a while, dreams will surface. And maybe it's not so black and white of my dream is to be XYZ and do XYZ, buy XYZ. But instead, it can be more fluid of, I want to feel like this. I want to experiment with these new things, and I want to talk to these people and see if I might be a good fit in this type of area. And that might take you to the clear answer. They might take you to another person or another idea and just be able to grow from there. But I would really invite you to sit down and spend some time writing or speaking and allow the creativity to come out. It's really important to believe in yourself. No one is going to believe in you if you don't. If you believe in yourself, others will follow suit. We're constantly mirroring each other's energy. And if you have confidence and believe in yourself and stay rooted in your values, other people will get on board and believe them and help you achieve them. So try to sit down, meditate, visualize, write stuff out. I think I've shared this in a previous podcast, but one of the most powerful exercises I do is just looking in my own eyes in the mirror and talking to myself, even if it's only one sentence, like I love you, or you're doing great, you're good enough, whatever I need to feel. It can be a long drawn out thing. Maybe this is what you do. You go and sit or stand in front of a mirror and ask yourself out loud, what do I want? Who am I? What are my values? And let it come through, you know? Don't be embarrassed or afraid to be yourself and let things flow through you. And you may be surprised, and it's fun. It's so cool. I don't know where it's coming from. Maybe the universe, maybe it's from you, who knows? But spend some time thinking about it. And then the key thing is to follow through. You know, you have to be realistic about making things happen. If you have a dream, most dreams you have to work hard for them. You know, and you have to continue going, you know, and it may be a dream that you wish would happen in a month. But if you have this big dream of doing this, that, and the other, it could take 10, 20 years, you know?
Yes.
And that's okay. Like Patsy's talking about, start the journey. You may go somewhere else. You may go to the clear dream. Just the journey is going to be worth it. So, you know.
And there's power in being patient with it. When we get discouraged because things aren't working out right then, remember your patience. You know, I think it's really important to not give up because it didn't work out right then or the way you looked at it to work out. Continue to have that confidence in yourself. I love that she just mentioned that because that is huge. I can't tell you the number of times I've, you know, had okay, well, that didn't work out. I need to dust myself off and get back up and believe in myself because I know I'm worth it, you know, and continuing to like, you know, just do the work because you are worth it and you're going to amaze yourself. When you start to really connect with yourself, do the work for achieving whatever goal it is that you have, things in your life will just open up. It's really incredible when you feel like I am on the right path. This is where I'm supposed to be.
Totally. And along the way, arm yourself with things that will keep you going and keep you sustained and fulfilled and nourished. Small practices like your gratitude journal, starting and ending each day with 3 to 5 things you're thankful for, looking forward to, appreciative of. You know, if you feel like you need something, give it. If you feel like you need an I love you or a compliment, give it to someone else and it will come back to you. You will be fulfilled. Little practices like that can keep us going and stay positive. Call a friend, call a parent, talk to people that uplift you to get you back into the right headspace. Just go into nature and go on a walk, you know, it's free, outdoor, is all around you. Take some breaths. You have many, many tools to support you along the way.
100%. Do what serves you.
Create your dream life. Thank you for listening today. We had a lovely time talking about the many ways you can create your dream life, unique to you, empowering to you, yours entirely. Patsy and I are so thankful that you are listening to the podcast, and tune in next time for some awesome topics.
Namaste.
Namaste.